What's going on, guys? Zedd here, bringing you a quick Tekken 8 tech video. I was informed about a piece of tech that Alisa has that I thought was kind of weird, but I took it, I pushed it to the nth degree, and now I'm convinced this is broken. This is unfair. It should not be in the game, in my opinion at least. And I have a theory as to how it works, but instead I'm going to quickly show you what it is, give us a few examples, and at the end of the video, after the examples, I'll try to explain how it works. So if you just want to see what it is, give me maybe 4 minutes of your time. So it was brought to my attention that Alisa is able to work around, so you can see I have two recordings here from Paul. His forward 2-1 just frame and the forward 2-1 normal. This high mid option here. I was told that you were able to sort of OS this with Alisa by using down 1+2. Now her down 1+2 is just manual saws, so I thought, how could you possibly OS this? And so, well, here's what happens. So if you look at my inputs on the right hand side, now realistically what's happening here is, for whatever reason, the game is reading me as doing my down 1+2, but since her full crouch down 1+2 is an option, for whatever reason, if the high comes out in a quick enough window, it gives you the low. And sure, it's not a duck and launch, but it is a guaranteed punish. And what's nice about this tech is you always block the mid and can punish, and if you get the low, right, oops, if you get the low, you go into saws at +5, right? So super useful. I took this and I pushed it. So I'm just going to show quick examples, but what I want to explain briefly is, note that if you're going to lab this yourself, you have to factor it around the high. So I believe this is the high. Yeah. When you're labbing this, you have to time it with the high, and it's not as easy as just hitting down 1+2. I mean, in Paul's case it is, and a few others it is, but in all the good examples I found, the only way to make it consistent in a real game is to hold down for about 3 to 5 frames, then hit 1+2. So it's more like down 1+2, right? But if you hold it for too long, you're going to essentially cheat and get the full crouch 1+2, and the mid's going to hit you. So you don't want to do quite 6 frames like I did right there on the left hand side. Instead, you want to do about, well, that's 6 again, like that. Anywhere between 3 and 5 seem to work, but it's always about timing it around the high. Now, I'm just going to showcase a few examples, and if any of these sound interesting to you, stick around. So, I didn't lab the entire game and the entire cast, and a lot of them didn't work, but Azucena down forward 1 4 string third hit, OS it. Reina down forward 1, OS it. Kazuya down forward 1, Shaheen magic 4, Alisa back 2, obviously the Paul one I'm showing you right now, and June 1-2 series. All of those, this works against all of them. There are other ones such as Brian 1+2, it was just too inconsistent to really get the handle on. So I'm going to quickly show clips of me doing that. Note that I'm doing it the same way. I'm going to record the 2 or 3 actions, however many each character has. I'm going to then, they are all different timings. I'm going to use down 1+2, and you're going to see me duck the high or block the mid every single time. So I'm going to show those right now, and then after that, I'm going to briefly explain how I think it works, and yeah, I hope you enjoy. Quick note on Reina's. She is able to, of course, do down forward 1 into Sentai, but when I was testing that and I was fighting a Reina in real game and using this tech, the only way she can really beat this is by doing either Sentai into grab, which is still breakable because this isn't considered a counter hit, and if the grab, if my timing was off or slow, then I would still get the full crouch down 1+2 against the grab, which is hilarious. And if she goes for a Sentai into a low, the saws come out fast enough, and once the saws are out, you're then able to block low, but it's just during this transition you can't block low. So quick note there, if Reina is doing down forward 1 Sentai, this isn't thwarting that by any means. So I have the 1 and the 2 recorded here. That's just a few examples of what I found with this tech, and I didn't go through every single high-mid string in the game, but you know, for example, I went to Deviljin's while standing 1, and while you can't use it there, you can react to the high there, or I went to some of Nina's, and the window on them is so tight that it's actually quite difficult not to dodge the high and block the mid, but to have the full crouch 1+2 come out. Like, the window on hers was so tight that I had to pretty much duck for precisely 3 frames and then do the 1+2, which obviously is super challenging, right? So Nina's I felt were pretty challenging, Brian's were pretty challenging, and like just in general, I didn't scour every moves list, but the ones that really stuck out to me, right? The Reina, the June, the Azucena, those 3 were the big ones. So those were the ones I wanted to look at for sure. Now again, the timing is all different, and my theory on how that works, and ending on Shaheen is a good note here, because I think what's happening here is the game, for whatever reason, won't stand, like, it won't activate destruction manual stance if it would collide with a hitbox on impact. So in other words, right, if I have, I think this is the high, yeah. If I'm gonna do destruction stance here, right, look at my inputs. I'm gonna do this as precisely as I can. Look at that, 1 frame. This move should not be coming out in 1 frame, but it does, because I think the game is somehow reading me as, oh, Alisa is about to get hit by a high hitbox, I have to instead evade it rather than go into destruction. Now you can also do this with down back for what it's worth, and I did notice against Reina that was a little bit easier, but anyway, that's how the hitbox works and how like the OS portion of it works. But what's interesting is that destruction stance just has auto block there during the entire animation, so it doesn't matter if the opponent is doing, you know, anything. I could do it, you know, right? I can just block no matter what. At no point here am I going to get hit, right? So it's sort of using both these rules in tandem with one another. This does work against Gamma Howl, although you had to factor it around you had to pick a high. Either it was, you would work around the high kick or the high punch. You couldn't do both. It does not lose to crouch throw, funnily enough. And in the case of Brian, you kind of had to know that he was going to go for the high and kind of work around that, because if he did 1+2 into, say, hatchet, that was pretty devastating. That was rough, but yeah, that's the tech. I haven't quite, you know, turned over every stone quite yet. I don't think this should be in the game. I went through other characters and I talked to my chat about how, you know, are there other characters who could have similar tech, and the one thing that we found held true was It was the auto block from down 1+2 on top of having a full crouch tech ducking move that worked. So for example, I tried to use Zafina because she has down 3+4. Down 3+4, you know, is a tech ducking stance. I figure, well, she can block out of the stance but not out of the transition. It didn't work. It seems, at least from what I can find, this only works on Alisa, and there's probably a few more things that I missed, but I think these three big ones, again, Reina, June, and Azucena, are huge. Now, while they're not exactly a I win button, what it means is that if you can start employing it to Azucena and Reina and June, three very strong popular characters, then all of a sudden, the opponent's not going to know what the heck's going on unless they know about this. And so there's no guessing. You're taking the guesswork out of it. And Tekken 8 has a lot of situations where you just have to guess, right? So my logic here is I want to be able to mitigate the guess and reap the reward. And even if you mess up, there's no risk. That's the thing. This tech is so broken because there's zero risk. The only counterplay, realistically, would be if a character was to do, say, I'll just use Shaheen as an example. If he went to do something like this. Oh, not that. Pardon me. Right? Like, high into low. And then the problem is, if you go to do this, right, I may not be able to block that low. So you do have to keep it in mind, though this is something that you have to work it in. So it's good if you know they're going to go for the third hit. That's why I don't really like it on Shaheen's as much as I liked it on, say, like Reina's always go for an extension, right? Or June, it's a third hit. Or Azucena, it's a third hit, right? So it's a little more enticing against those characters. But regardless, that's the tech. Let me know in the comments if you find anything else this works against. Note that the timing is different for all of these. And as you saw in my demos, I don't get it perfectly every time, but I do try to use it in game. And specifically, I had a set against a Reina yesterday where I was using it to incredible degree. It was hilarious to watch. So I hope that's helpful. If this gets changed, oh well. I don't think it should be in the game. It's not super threatening, but it is a bit dumb in that it deletes our decision making and puts us into saws at +5. So anywho, hope you enjoy. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out for now.